space, Your Excellency. This calls upon all of us to know and identify products from our countries that can be part of these value chains. According to our Statistics Office, Botswana has, over these 28 years, experienced negative trade balances with South Africa. The negative trade balances runs into billions of pula for each year. Between 2017 and 2021, Botswana exported goods to South Africa worth 31 billion pula, while it imported goods worth 210 billion pula. This means that on average, we're importing 42 billion, only 6 billion pula worth of goods per annum. All these figures do reflect trade deficits or negative trade balances, confirming my earlier statement. Those who doubt can do the calculations. The products we export include diamonds, beef, soda ash, and those we import include cereals, vehicles, beverages, fuels, just to mention a few. Let me hasten to say, Mr. President, we need to put order to this, you and I. I must say that my government is committed to developing value chains to unlock opportunities for new and existing companies in the private sector. We intend to identify new sectors from the regional and continental product space, which can successfully be wholly produced or grown in the country to form part of the value chain. These will result in significant job creation, especially for the young people, while also driving the much-needed export diversification to support our aspirations of an export-led economy. Your Excellency, Botswana views South Africa as a critical partner, especially as we continuously explore ways to diversify and expand our economic base, to tap into the growing importance of the African market. This will be consistent with maximizing the advantages that will accrue consequent to the advent of the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, AfCFTA. Mr. President, the AfCFTA brings an opportunity for all of us to embrace. Therefore, we hope that we will work together to harness opportunities that lie ahead and take advantage of the existing manufactured products to be availed for value chains. Examples that immediately come to mind are the dairy sector and the components availed under the automotive sector. Your auto clusters could deliberately procure auto components from Botswana. I tell you, if this could happen, Your Excellency, trade between our countries will balance off, will flourish, and our countries' economies will grow in leaps and bounds together. As a country, Botswana is committed to the multilateral trade arrangements, which we are signatory to, as well as to ensuring that their objectives are fully attained. This includes those given by SACU, SADC, and the AfCFTA. We're in the process of ratifying the AfCFTA in the near future. We believe that it is through successful implementation of these trade agreements that the low levels of intra-Africa trade can be addressed. Your Excellency, I look forward to today's deliberations. In particular, I want to hear from the private sector on the outcomes of their deliberations and the challenges they encounter as they trade amongst each other. Most importantly, how these challenges could be addressed to enable growth in our economies, which have been badly affected by the COVID-19 pandemic and the current conflict in Europe. Your Excellency and my very dear brother, with these few remarks, I wish once again to heartily welcome you to Gaborone and to this business roundtable. May our trade relations prosper and enrich our countries. I thank you. Nelwaki Pula. Thank you. Thank you, my brother.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
From another mother.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you very much for the welcome address, Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Botswana, Dr. Mokgweetsi Eric Masisi. Mr. President, I paid attention to your welcome address, and I must say I was happy to hear you mentioning youth and what the implication of today's conversation is going to be to youth. And I must say, the first thing that I did as I stood at the podium was take a quick scan in the room and to take a look at the audience. And I must be not the only, but one of the few young people in this room here today. I look at it in two positives. I see it as a form of an inclusion and to commend my country for believing in young people and putting them in spaces that they wouldn't otherwise be privy of getting into. But I also look at it on the other side. Yesterday, I listened to some of the deliberations, and particularly on the value proposition of South Africa. And a key word that I heard there was South Africa is the most industrialized economy in Africa. And Mr. President, I love that you mentioned that South Africa is the biggest trading partner to Botswana, and also mentioning the trade deficits that we have. And yet, if you take a look at South Africa as well, in terms of the biggest trading partners, it's most likely not to be coming from Africa. So as a young person in the room, and when we talk about the AfCFTA, the free mobility of business persons, goods, services, and capital, and what impact this will have on youth, I'm hoping that we would also look not just now, but maybe into 100 years. Because if you look at economies like China, who are big trading partners with South Africa, they're planning in centuries and not in decades. So I thank you very much, Mr. President, for your welcome address. I'm paying attention and I'm taking some nuggets. Without further ado, I'd like to give the podium to Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of South Africa, His Excellency Matamela Cyril Ramaphosa, to also give us an address. Your Excellency, I will be paying attention as well. Thank you very much.
Program Director, let me thank you for the colorful manner in which you're directing the program. Your Excellency, President Mokgweetsi Masisi, President of the Republic of Botswana, Your Excellencies, High Commissioners of both South Africa and Botswana, Honorable Ministers and Deputy Ministers, as we also recognize the two ministers sitting at the podium who have been helping to direct this process and enhancing the trade between our two countries, Minister Khafela and Minister Patel, business leaders from both South Africa and Botswana, and distinguished guests and colleagues and friends. Your Excellency President Masisi, sometimes it is quite helpful for presidents in describing situations to be colorful. You mentioned or you postulated what people who came to Botswana 28 years ago could have been wearing. And I expected you to be much more colorful and descriptive, because I would have wanted to hear that history. You seem to have some secrets that you are not disclosing to us. President Masisi, I'm really pleased that we are undertaking or participating in this forum, living up to the undertaking we gave each other in April of this year to hold this engagement as we do. And I'm pleased that our promise to to have this forum has now materialized. I was rather pleased when I heard our minister saying that we are going to hold this forum, and pleasantly surprised that we were holding it so soon after our BNC in April. This, I must say, we need to applaud our ministers for. They are really action-oriented. They are truly action-oriented, both our ministers of trade and industry, as well as international relations and foreign relations on your part, as well as the officials. This is what I believe behoves well with regard to taking forward a number of identified action points that have come through from the forum and will also come through in the discussions that will ensue this morning. The trade and investment ties between our two countries have grown stronger over the years. But you're absolutely right. The links between our two countries do not date back to 28 years. They date back, as you correctly said, thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago. And if you look at it and you peel the various contours of history, you will find that we are one people bound together by the region that we live in, bound together by a number of other very powerful strings that tie us together. And the trade ties and the strings have become stronger, and we must be grateful for that, because they lay a firm basis for even greater economic cooperation and integration into our common future. I have come through with ministers as well as representatives from our state-owned companies, as well as our private-owned companies, financial institutions, as well as officials from our government departments. I'm encouraged by the work that has already begun through our respective trade and industry ministers to align our plans towards a common Southern African Customs Union plan of action for operationalizing the African Continental Free Trade Area. The joint export promotion platforms that are being discussed at the SACU level for leveraging the AFC FTA trade opportunities are really promising. I urge that the same vigor should be given to concluding the work of creating industrial value chains here in our region. Because it is through these value chains that we'll be able to grow our industrial exports to the rest of the continent. Yes, you do say that South Africa is the most industrialized country on the continent. But we should see this as a great benefit for our region, because it is through this base that we should lift all of us in the region, all the countries in Southern Africa, and particularly South Africa and Botswana, and use this endowment to ensure that we do grow and capture the opportunities that are to be found on the continent. New markets in West, East, North, and Central Africa hold immense potential for both South Africa and Botswana. And those markets are beckoning us. They are calling on us to come and exploit them and benefit from them, but also to benefit the peoples of the various countries on our beloved continent. We will be able to produce and export local goods, products and services to our fellow African countries that would otherwise be sourced from outside the continent. Many of our sister countries on the continent keep complaining that they keep on importing various goods as well as services from outside of our continent, and they would love to have goods and services from intra our continent. And I'd like to believe that South Africa and Botswana are well positioned to capture those opportunities. Even so, as we do so, we do not seek to displace other African businesses. The intention instead is complementary trade and industrial development with those countries as well. Botswana and South Africa can both achieve more by working closely together. In other words, I'd like to encourage both our publicly held entities as well as our privately owned businesses to think of various initiatives of addressing the continental market jointly, together, through joint initiatives where they cooperate closely, through joint companies where they form joint ventures, joint companies, and be able to take advantage of this market. The development of value chains can also move our region towards a brighter new future of joint investment and development. I'm also pleased, my dear President and brother, to note that work is underway in our region on a work program on industrialization to promote industrial development and regional value chains, to promote export promotion, investment attraction, and to develop new businesses. Work is also underway on a number of areas or subsectors of our economies. For instance, in leather and leather products, in fresh produce, meat and meat products, textiles, clothing, cosmetics, and essential oils. These sectors present opportunities for the development of regional value chains, not only across our region, but also beyond, into the hinterland of our continent. They also present opportunities for our region to export, yes, to the rest of the continent, but even beyond that, to the United States through the AGOA, to the European Union through EPA, and to other strategic markets in Asia and the Middle East. And saying so means that here lies great opportunities for us here in Southern Africa to be the real manufacturing industrial hub of our continent. And these are some of the opportunities. There are other opportunities where we can engender cooperation, for instance, in the area of minerals, for which our region is so well known. Botswana is currently the chair of the Kimberley process, an initiative that has successfully addressed concerns regarding the diamond industry. And last year Botswana was the world's leading producer of diamonds by value. This position used to be occupied by South Africa, but Botswana has now taken the lead. And we are particularly pleased and proud that our sister neighbor country is now leading in an area that we have, as South Africa, excelled in. Are we jealous? No. Are we proud? Yes. President Masisi introduced me to the Minister of, and he said, here's the Minister of Diamonds. And I was very eager to shake his hands, hoping that there would be some diamonds that will flow from his hands. So I'm one of those who is immensely excited that Botswana was able, as a nation also, to achieve a very dynamic and forward-looking partnership with a company that originated in South Africa, which is De Beers, and that Botswana is a key equity owner and holder with De Beers. But more importantly, President Masisi, that you were able to entice and win over the mighty diamond trading entity to move from London to come to Botswana. The diamond entity that markets diamonds all over the world is located here in Southern Africa, and we're proud that it is here in Gaborone, and well done for them. Your Excellency, in April this year, you opened the first SACU Investment Roundtable in Gaborone under the theme, Positioning SACU, our customs union, as an industrial investment, manufacturing and innovative hub for the African continent and beyond. This remains our collective aspirations and should really be so, particularly for Botswana and South Africa. Over the past 5 years, South Africa's foreign direct investment stock in Botswana has increased year on year. While we will continue to encourage South African investment into Botswana, we are encouraged by Botswana companies that have already invested and continue to invest in South Africa. They attract capital to come into South Africa, and we are particularly pleased with that, but we would like to see those numbers growing exponentially. Intra-Africa trade opportunities accruing from the AFC FTA can only realize if we facilitate intra-Africa investments. In particular, we need to encourage our respective companies to invest in areas that will address the continent's infrastructure and industrial deficits. South Africa is committed to supporting our partners on the continent to reach their industrial goals. As South Africa, we want to be part of the African growth story by way of strategic investments into the continent by our companies, both privately owned companies as well as our state-owned enterprises. But we also want to encourage our financial institutions to do precisely the same. It is therefore, President Masisi, our expectation that today's session will unpack all these matters a little bit further, so that we also dissect some of the challenges, be they barriers to investment, be they challenges. Let us dissect them and talk about them openly and find solutions to enhance growth between our two countries, but also to strengthen the Botswana-South Africa economic relationship that has, by the way, been growing and growing from where we started. I look forward to vibrant and productive discussions in this regard. May our discussions be very, very successful, and thank you very much for welcoming us to this beautiful city of Gaborone. But President, you still owe me a debt. You promised that you will take me to the Delta. And you still have not lived up to your promise. Wankolota. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Andrea. Thank you. Noorda duela skurut.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, Matamela Cyril Ramaphosa, the President of the Republic of South Africa, for your address. And I paid attention to some of the key points that you did there. I saw what you did. You shared a lot of the comparative advantages that Botswana has, particularly around the mining sector. And that even though there are those trade deficits or that trade imbalance between ourselves and South Africa, we've managed to also hold our own. Thank you very much for that. And also sharing the vision for Southern Africa that we could be a manufacturing investor hub and that we could trade with the world, not as individual countries, but as a regional bloc. And my takeaway here today, also I think a call to action for the roundtables that are going to follow through, is I call the Botswana government and De Beers partnership the one landmark deal. And I believe that for Botswana to get to its next phase, I know we've got a Vision 2036, and for Southern Africa to get to where it wants to with its vision, we need another landmark deal. And it has to come from another industry and not mining. And I think that landmark deal is going to be linked to technology and the creative sector. So I encourage, as a young voice in the room today, to say, as we engage in our roundtables today, let's not miss where technology, innovation, and the creative sector meet the industries that you're going to engage in today. My last call to action is on the 12th of August will be International Youth Day. And the theme this year is intergenerational solidarity. And what that theme is saying is that we need to leverage from both generations, the young and the old, to get to where we need to develop sustainably in Africa. And I say, my challenge to myself here from today and to yourselves in the room is that the next time I'm in this room again, I should be sitting where you're sitting. And, and the next time we're in this room today, there should be a 50-50 between young people, not because they were called in to be included, but because they've held their own and they deserve to be at the table here today. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us for the first half of the opening of the Botswana South Africa Business Roundtable. And we will now get to the next session. But before that, I'd like to call to the media to kindly gracefully leave the room to prepare to go to the photo session to take photos of our two heads of state, our two ministers, which I'll announce later, and two representatives from the Chambers of Commerce, as well as our high commissioners. So if you could kindly prepare to go to the photo booth. And in the process, what's next? We're going to have a health break, tea and refreshments. But before that, we're going to experience some lovely entertainment by Kudu Tamaga. And after Kudu Tamaga, I'll announce, and the protocol teams will guide the photo session and how we're going to proceed to it. Thank you very much. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome entertainment by Kudu Tamaga. Let's enjoy the culture. By the way, what I did want to say as well is, for us to leverage on the AFCFTA, we need to build our creative confidence, to have the energy, the confidence to actually go and trade beyond our borders. And I believe situations like Kudu Tamaga and the entertainment in the creative sector, they contribute to building our creative confidence. Kudu Tamaga, you're welcome to the stage. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, another round of applause for Kudu Tamaga. Don't you have a little bit more of energy? Ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to the closing of the first session of today. And I'd like to make an announcement that the media, unfortunately, in the next session being the roundtable, there will be no media. It will be a closed session. And there will be no media, but we will have you coming back again on the third session of the day after the roundtable. Media includes everyone, including all the cameras that are here in the room. Everyone should exit the room post this session. We will now be proceeding to a health break and refreshments, but before that, we will be giving way to our two heads of state and our two ministers, being Honorable Minister Kafela, Minister of Trade and Industry and of Botswana, as well as Honorable Minister Ibrahim Patel, Minister of Trade, Industry and Competition of the Republic of South Africa, to rise, and also they will be proceeding to the photo session. And on that photo session, they will be joined by our two representatives from the Chambers of Commerce of South Africa and Botswana, and they will also be joined by the High Commissioners. So it'll be a total of 8 individuals through the photo session. And if you're in the media, you haven't left the room yet for this photo session, kindly please make your way. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, may we please rise to give way to our heads of state, as well as our honorable ministers, to grace the stage. Thank you very much.